Welcome to the Grace and Grit podcast, made for women who want their healthiest years to be ahead of them, not behind them. Join your host, Courtney Townley, right now as she breaks down the fairy tale health story you have been chasing all of your life into sensible action steps and lasting change. Hello, my friends, and welcome to the Grace and Grit podcast. This is your host, Courtney Townley. As always, I am deeply appreciative that of all the places you could be, you're here with me. And before I launch into today's show, I want to tell you about an amazing free event that I'm hosting at the end of this month. For several years, I've been teaching a course called the Consistency Code. It's a 4-week program that helps women to ditch diet culture, to ditch what I call the Hail Mary approaches to health, and really honor how health is developed, how health is improved, and really how behavior change really works. This program has become the cornerstone of the work that I do, both with my private clients and my members of the Rumble and Rise community. So I decided to teach a crash course of the Consistency Code. September 27th through October 1st of 2021, in case you listen to this a few years from now, I will be teaching a live lesson every single day inside of a private Facebook community based on the framework of the Consistency Code. Now, obviously, there's no way I can teach the full 4-week program in just 5 days. But my intention is that you will get inspired to look at your health differently, to look at your health journey differently, and really have a pathway for showing up for yourself with more consistency and ease. Because isn't that what we really want? To learn how to enjoy our process and end the madness of feeling like we're constantly quitting on ourselves. So once again, totally free. And you can register by going to graceandgrit.com/crash course. Once again, that's graceandgrit.com/crash course. And if you're hesitant about joining this free event that virtually has no risk to you, this podcast today is for you. I've titled this episode, Now is the Perfect Time. And I wanted to do an episode about the concept of choosing to make now the perfect time, because it is something that I see so many people rumbling with. We rumble with indecision about when the right time to start is. We have a lot of unuseful beliefs about time, one of them being that we think there is a perfect time to start developing practices that will up-level our health, and there's really no such thing. I think in terms of health, the idea that there is a perfect time was born out of diet culture. Because let's face it, if you're going to make huge changes in short time frames, you're going to need a lot of resources available, meaning you're going to have a lot of focus, a lot of drive, a lot of energy, a lot of willpower, and probably a lot of time. So if that is indeed the type of strategy that you're going to use, something that requires you to make huge changes in short time frames, which I really don't recommend, but if that's what you choose to do, it's probably not the best time to engage with those kinds of strategies when you're about to take a trip of a lifetime, or move across country, or when you're sick. But you know me, assuming you've listened to this show for at least a few episodes, I'm not a fan of approaches that ask you to overhaul your life overnight for so many reasons. And there's 252 episodes of this podcast that tell you why these kinds of measures aren't sustainable and really not even useful. So I'm guessing you're here because you already know that, and you're looking for a pathway to take better care of yourself that doesn't keep you chronically stuck in that start-stop cycle that is dieting. So if this resonates, hear this. The perfect time is when you decide it to be the perfect time. And now that you've heard that, I want to ask you a question. Why not now? Why not now? Why are you making now not the perfect time? Seriously, rack your brain for all the reasons that now is not a good time for you to lean into behavior change. You're too busy. You have no time. The holidays are around the corner. You're tired. You're overwhelmed. Mercury is in retrograde. I don't think it even is, but just throwing that out there to make sure you're listening. These are some of the common things I hear when a woman is rationalizing why she can't start something. Hell, I use these rationalizations all the time. So really take a second right now. And if you don't have a second right now, you're driving, you're in the midst of exercising while you're listening to me, commit to taking some time later today to really put pen to page and just do a brain dump of all the rationalizations you keep using to delay your journey. And when you look at that page, I want you to see that what you have written on the page will mostly be thoughts. So there's very little factual information on the page. And thoughts are optional. And we talked about this last week in the episode on how to get unstuck. These thoughts that I just mentioned, I'm too busy, I have no time, the holidays are around the corner, I'm tired, I'm overwhelmed. Those thoughts are what keep you stuck. Because those thoughts make your brain freak out. Specifically, your poor amygdala. Remember, your amygdala is a very reactive part of your brain. And its main objective is to keep you alive. So it's always scanning for danger. And those thoughts that I just read, those thoughts feel like danger. And when your amygdala senses danger, it's going to send you a lot of signals that sound something like, do not proceed, danger ahead, you're going to die. I know that sounds very dramatic, but the amygdala is very dramatic because it perceives everything as a threat. So there's a couple of things that we can do to calm our amygdalas down. Because your amygdala is not broken, it's doing a wonderful thing. It's kind of like a hyper-vigilant parent, right? Don't touch the stove, don't walk out into traffic, don't do anything that could harm you. The problem with the amygdala is if we listen to everything it says, we wouldn't proceed with anything in our life because everything can be perceived as a danger. So 2 things we can do to calm it down. Number 1, take responsibility for not overwhelming your brain. So one of the concepts that a lot of you've heard me talk about in courses, in this podcast, and all the spaces and places is the KISS method, KISS, which really stands for kind of 2 different things, but they both speak to the same thing. Keep it stupid simple is one version of the KISS method. Keep it small and specific is another version. Again, they both have the same message. Commit to small steps to make progress. And Susan David, who wrote the book, the amazing book, Emotional Agility, that I have mentioned more times than I can count, she calls this your state of whelm. Right? You're not overwhelming your brain. You're not underwhelming your brain. You're choosing a commitment that feels a little bit challenging, but also very doable, very winnable. And when I think about implementing strategy that is stupid simple, that is small and specific, and that keeps me in my state of whelm, I often think of moments of parenthood. So my son learning how to read. I didn't throw the dictionary at my son to learn how to read. I didn't start with a novel. He started by making sounds. He started by playing with phonics. He started by learning the alphabet and then starting to string letters of the alphabet together. And eventually he was able to put letters of the alphabet into words and into sentences and into paragraphs. And this summer, I think my kid read like 10 books, which is just an awesome thing to watch. And it's such a powerful reminder of this is the way of it. This is how we learn. This is how we develop. This is how we progress. When we are very kind to our brains and we set up strategies that don't overwhelm our brains. The other thing that we can do to calm our amygdala down is parent our brain. I feel like I'm a broken record. I say this all the time, but whatever you are constantly thinking in your brain is what you will seek evidence for in your life. So going back to those thoughts that I mentioned earlier, I'm too busy. If that thought, even unconsciously, is playing on repeat in your brain, guess what you're going to find a lot of evidence for? All the ways and all the reasons why you're too busy. If you're hyper-focused on the holidays coming around the corner, you're going to find a lot of evidence for why you can't take action now. If you're constantly telling yourself that you're exhausted, that it's too much, that you can't handle this, you will find lots of evidence to prove yourself right. So right now, I want to help you practice giving your brain the job of looking for evidence for why right now is the perfect time to lean into behavior change, specifically behavior change that will up-level your health. So reason number one, or thought number one, is life will continue to march forward if I do or if I don't. In 1 month, in 1 year, you could be sitting in the exact same place you are right now, or you could be worse off. Or you could have some serious traction under your belt. After all, improved health, improved anything, is really the byproduct of the compound effect. Doing a little bit better each day. We always hear the 1%, right? So if you did 1% better each day, you'd be doing nearly 100% better in maybe 3 months, give or take. You'd be doing 200% better in 6 months. That's some serious traction. Even if you only improved by 1% each week, that is massive progress over the course of a year. So you will still be a year older. Life will continue to move forward if you do or if you don't. The second thought that I think is really powerful in helping our brain start looking for evidence that's helpful is that no one's ever regretted starting, but lots of people regret not starting. How are you going to feel in another month if you spend the next month rationalizing all the reasons why you can't take action now? And again, a big reason you're probably not taking action right now is simply because the strategy you keep trying to use is freaking your brain out. So this is simple. Making this simple is an option. That's a powerful thought. Making this fun is an option. Doing 1% better, that's nothing. I've got that. I can totally handle that, even though I have a lot of other responsibilities. Another thought I like to think about is that I'm already spending valuable resources on the thing that I want to change. I'm just not spending those resources in a way that's creating change. What does that mean? Well, I know that if you have long been thinking about up-leveling your health and you keep rationalizing, negotiating, and compromising your way out of it, you are spending a lot of time spinning out mentally, feeling like crap physically. You are spending valuable resources on the change. You're just not spending them in a way that is moving you towards what you want. So if I'm already spending the resources, why not spend them in a way that benefits me, that moves me in the direction of progress? Another thing I like to remind myself and clients of is that life is uncertain. It's not that this period of your life is uncertain. Life itself is uncertain. Today might be sunny, tomorrow could be rainy, and the weather could give two rips about what your plans are. I think about my wedding. My husband and I got married in Kauai. It was amazing. But the entire week prior to our wedding, it rained. And I'm talking rained. It was February, so it's the rainy season. Should have expected that, Courtney. But each day, I got a little more nervous. Like, oh my gosh, like this is not what we planned. And people who came to the wedding really started to ask me closer to the wedding date, like, what's plan B? And I told them there is no plan B. We're getting married on the beach, rain or shine. And thank God, the day of the wedding turned out to be 80 degrees and beautiful. There was no rain. But I was prepared to make the most of it no matter what happened. I actually just saw a photo shoot on, I don't know if it's Facebook or Instagram, one of the social media channels, of a couple that downpoured on their wedding day. And the photographs turned out so cool. So the opportunities for stress are always going to be there because that's life. But when you learn how to manage your brain and your emotions, when those opportunities for stress show up, you're able to lean into the work despite what's happening around you. And please don't hear me saying that there's not a dial to discipline. There absolutely is. So I do believe there is always something that you can do, but what that something looks like is going to be largely dependent on what else is happening in your life. So if you have a really heavy stress load, it's not that you can't take action now. It's not that right now isn't the perfect time. It's that your action needs to look different than it would if you didn't have very much stress at all. The perfect time is when I decide it to be. Love that thought. The perfect time is when I decide it to be. There will be discomfort either way, is another favorite. This kind of goes back to the resources. You're spending the resources already. Why not spend them in a way that gets you moving in the direction you want to go? The same goes for discomfort. You're already uncomfortable. Listening to the show, I'm guessing you're listening to it because there's a level of discomfort in your life. specifically around your health. And absolutely, there will be discomfort in leaning into behavior change. But again, one level of discomfort keeps you where you are, and the other level of discomfort moves the needle of progress. So choose the discomfort that moves the needle of progress. I can do something. I just may need to dial it down. As cliche as it is, something really is better than nothing. And the only thing standing in the way of you allowing yourself to dial down the discipline is you, giving yourself permission to allow it to look simpler, to allow it to look smaller, and not make that mean that something's wrong with you or you're not doing it right. Make it mean that you really care about your progress. And that's why you're extending yourself the grace of turning the dial down. The other thing I wanted to just mention is that we are living in the time of COVID. So on a chemical level, I think that really reinforces that if you want to up-level your health, now really is the perfect time. Because we want to give our immune system and our body's resilience every fighting chance. And so the small things that you do in dedication to improving your health are going to help fortify your immunity and help fortify your resilience. So in closing, I just want to remind you that in order to move your health, move your life to higher ground, you have to develop some new beliefs. And all a belief is a recycled thought. It's a thought you've thought so many times. It's just what you believe. So I want to give you a thought in closing that I hope you will repeat many, many times, every single day, until it becomes a new belief. Now is the perfect time. Right now, today is the perfect time. This moment is the perfect time. Like literally right now. So just for one quick second, unless you're driving, don't do this. But if you're not driving, assuming that you're sitting somewhere or you're in a place where you can close your eyes. And I want you to just quickly check in with yourself. And just ask yourself the simple question: what is my mind or what is my body asking of me in this moment? Another way of asking that question is simply, what does self-care look like in this moment? And without your rigid expectation of what self-care is supposed to look like a 60-minute exercise session, let the expectations go and really listen to what you need in this moment. Do you need to take a deep breath? Do you need to make that phone call so you can stop thinking about it? Do you need to just get up and go pee? Remind yourself that self-care can look this simple. These simple things that we do to lower our total stress load, compounded over time, make a tremendous impact on our health. I hope this was helpful. Don't forget, the Consistency Code Crash Course is starting on the 27th of September, totally free, 5 days of training with me, lots of education, lots of coaching, lots of prizes. You can find out the details and register by going to graceandgrit.com/crash course. And bring your friends, because the more the merrier. And quite frankly, I don't know a woman who doesn't benefit from this work, including myself. Every time I teach this work, which is often, it just solidifies my own practices. It reinforces my inspiration around showing up for myself. So if you're someone who's even done the consistency code in the past, you're in the Rumble and Rise membership site, you are a private client, you'll still benefit from this. Because to master anything, we constantly go back to the basics. All right, I hope I will be seeing you inside that event. I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you again very soon. Take care. Thank you for listening to the Grace and Grit podcast. It is time to mend the fabric of the female health story, and it starts with you taking radical responsibility for your own self-care. You are worth the effort, and with a little grace and grit, anything is possible.